Have you ever noticed how quick we are to judge, but how slow we are to love? What if the first thing people felt from us wasn't criticism or indifference, but love? That's what Jesus taught, and it's what he lived. In a world that tells us to protect ourselves first, defend our rights first, and make sure we're winning first, Jesus said something radically different. Love first, always. Not after someone proves themselves worthy, not after they apologize, not after you've had time to feel comfortable. Love first and keep loving. This wasn't just a nice slogan for him, it was the foundation of everything he did. Whether he was healing the sick, forgiving the sinner, or teaching the crowds, love came first. And it wasn't a sentimental, shallow love. It was a love that moved toward the hurting, that crossed every boundary, that was willing to sacrifice comfort and reputation to meet a need. Think about the story of the Good Samaritan. Jesus told it in response to someone asking, "Who is my neighbor?" Instead of giving a neat definition, he told a story about a man beaten and left for dead, ignored by the people who should have helped him. Then came a Samaritan, someone from a group despised by the Jews, who stopped, cared for the man, and paid for his recovery. The point was clear. Love doesn't ask, "Do you deserve my help?" It asks, "What can I do for you right now?" Jesus didn't just tell that story, he lived it. He touched lepers no one else would go near. He ate with tax collectors that respectable people avoided. He spoke with women in public when society frowned on it. Every time, love came first, even when it broke cultural norms. When he met the woman caught in adultery, the crowd was ready to stone her. But Jesus knelt, wrote in the dust, and then said, "Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone." One by one, they left. Then he told her, "Neither do I condemn you. Go now and leave your life of sin." Love didn't excuse wrongdoing, but it refused to condemn the person. It offered a path forward, and that's the heart of love first always. It doesn't mean ignoring truth or pretending hurt doesn't exist. It means letting love be the first move we make, the lens through which we see others, the motivation behind our actions. Because when love leads, everything else changes. When Jesus said to love first always, he wasn't talking about an easy, comfortable kind of love. He meant a love that costs you something, a love that stretches you beyond your natural limits. And he showed us exactly what that looked like. One of the clearest examples is found in how he treated his own disciples. These were men who followed him closely, yet they often misunderstood him, argued with each other, and even failed him. Peter denied him 3 times in his most difficult hour. And yet after the resurrection, Jesus didn't greet Peter with anger or disappointment. He made breakfast for him by the sea and asked, "Do you love me?" 3 times, giving Peter the chance to reaffirm his devotion. Love first meant restoration instead of rejection. Jesus also showed love first in the way he listened. When blind Bartimaeus cried out from the roadside, the crowd tried to silence him. But Jesus stopped and asked, "What do you want me to do for you?" Love doesn't assume, it listens. It doesn't rush past people's pain to get to the next task. It stops and pays attention. He even loved first when it was inconvenient. In Mark 5, on his way to heal a dying girl, he stopped for a woman who had been suffering for 12 years. She touched the edge of his garment in faith and was healed instantly. But Jesus didn't let her slip away. He turned, found her, and called her daughter. That one word told her she belonged, she was known, and she was loved, before he went on to perform the other miracle. Love first also means breaking barriers. The Samaritan woman at the well had 3 strikes against her in that culture. She was a woman, a Samaritan, and someone with a complicated past. Yet Jesus engaged her in deep, honest conversation and revealed himself as the Messiah to her. She went from an outcast to a messenger who brought her whole village to him. That's the power of being loved first. You can't help but share it. Perhaps most radically, Jesus loved first even toward his enemies. On the cross, surrounded by those who mocked him and had driven nails into his hands, he prayed, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." That's not natural, that's divine. Love first means choosing compassion over vengeance, even when you have every right to retaliate. If we're honest, loving first is rarely convenient. It asks us to set aside our pride, our busyness, and our desire for payback. But it's also the way we reflect Jesus most clearly to the world. And the truth is, someone else loved you first. God himself. We love because he first loved us, 1 John 4:19. Loving first isn't just about personal relationships. It has the power to transform entire communities. When Jesus loved first, it often set off a chain reaction that reached far beyond the person standing in front of him. Think about Zacchaeus, the tax collector. He was wealthy, but his wealth came from exploiting others. People avoided him, despised him, and certainly didn't see him as someone worth engaging with. But when Jesus passed through Jericho, he stopped under a tree, looked up and called, "Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today." That one invitation changed everything. Zacchaeus' heart was so moved that he gave away half his possessions to the poor and repaid 4 times what he had stolen. The people who had been hurt by him now saw a different man. That's the ripple effect of love first. It restores more than one person. It begins to heal relationships, reputations, and communities. We see this again in the story of the man possessed by a legion of demons in the region of the Gerasenes. He lived among the tombs, feared and chained by his community. No one could control him, and most had given up on him entirely. But Jesus crossed the lake, confronted the darkness in his life, and set him free. When the people saw him clothed and in his right mind, they were shocked. And Jesus sent him home to tell others what God had done. One act of love turned the most feared man in town into its greatest witness. Loving first means taking the risk to step into messy situations, not waiting for them to get better before we get involved. That's what Jesus did over and over again. Even when crowds pressed in on him, he noticed the individuals others overlooked. He saw the poor widow putting 2 small coins into the temple treasury and recognized it as a greater gift than all the large sums given by the wealthy. Love first sees worth where the world sees little value. When we choose to live this way, our actions start to rewrite the story for others. The lonely find family, the rejected find belonging, the guilty find grace. And as these individual stories change, so does the tone of our communities. Walls of division start to fall, replaced by bridges of compassion. But make no mistake, loving first isn't about avoiding truth. Jesus spoke hard truths to those he loved, because real love cares too much to leave someone in harm's way. Yet, the truth was always wrapped in grace, so that even correction felt like an invitation, not a rejection. When Jesus said, "Love first, always," he was giving us more than a command. He was handing us the key to changing the world, one person at a time. Loving first often requires courage, because it puts you in situations where others might misunderstand you. Jesus knew this better than anyone. His love constantly broke through cultural, religious, and social barriers, and it made some people uncomfortable. One powerful example is when he healed a man with a withered hand on the Sabbath. The religious leaders watched closely, waiting to accuse him of breaking the law. Jesus could have waited until the next day to avoid controversy. But love first doesn't wait for a safer moment. It acts when the need is there. He told the man to stretch out his hand, and it was completely restored. That act of love not only healed the man's body, but also confronted a distorted view of God's law, showing that compassion outweighs legalism. We also see his courage in the way he defended the vulnerable. When his disciples tried to stop parents from bringing children to him, he became indignant and said, "Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them." In a culture where children had little social status, Jesus publicly affirmed their worth. Love first sees value where the world overlooks it. And then there's the moment with the woman who had been bleeding for 12 years. In a crowd pressing all around him, she touched his garment and was instantly healed. She might have slipped away unnoticed, but Jesus stopped everything to find her. Why? Because love first doesn't just heal the problem, it restores the person. Calling her daughter in front of everyone gave her back dignity and belonging. Loving first also means stepping into someone's pain, even when you can't fix everything right away. At Lazarus' tomb, Jesus knew resurrection was coming, yet he wept with Mary and Martha. His tears showed that love is not only about solutions, it's about presence. Jesus' love was also deeply patient. He didn't give up on the disciples when they failed, doubted, or misunderstood him. Even after Peter denied him 3 times, Jesus restored him gently, asking, "Do you love me?" 3 times. Love first isn't a one-time act, it's a commitment to keep showing up. But perhaps the clearest display of courageous and unconditional love came at the cross. Surrounded by mockers and executioners, Jesus prayed for their forgiveness. That's love that refuses to turn into hate, even under the worst injustice. This kind of love is rare. It will cost you your comfort, your pride, and sometimes your safety. But it's also the love that transforms hearts, heals wounds, and opens doors to reconciliation. When we love first, without waiting to be loved in return, we mirror the heart of Jesus to a watching world. When Jesus said, "Love first always," he wasn't giving us an optional suggestion. He was showing us the very heartbeat of God, the love that took on flesh, walked among us, and never once failed to act in compassion. By the time he reached the final days of his life, that love had already left an undeniable mark on countless lives. But the greatest demonstration was still to come. In the upper room, on the night before his crucifixion, Jesus shared a meal with his disciples. He knew what was ahead. He knew that Judas would betray him, Peter would deny him, and the rest would scatter. And yet, he got up from the table, took off his outer garment, wrapped a towel around his waist, and began to wash their feet. This was the work of a servant, yet the Lord of all chose to do it. Love first means serving even those who will hurt you. After washing their feet, he gave them a new command: love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. Notice he didn't say love when it's convenient or love when it's deserved. He said, as I have loved you. A love without limits, without conditions, without self-protection. And then he walked that command all the way to the cross. Love first meant standing silent before his accusers, carrying the weight of the cross up the hill, and enduring the nails that held him there. Every blow, every insult, every ounce of pain was met with the same determination, to love to the very end. Even in his final moments, that love didn't stop. He saw his mother and entrusted her care to John. He offered paradise to the thief hanging beside him. He prayed for the forgiveness of those who were killing him. Love first was not something he turned off when it became too hard. It was who he was. The resurrection proved that love like this cannot be defeated. When Jesus walked out of the tomb, he didn't return to punish those who had abandoned him. He returned to bring peace. To Mary Magdalene, he spoke her name. To the disciples hiding in fear, he said, "Peace be with you." To Thomas, he offered his hands as proof. Love first doesn't hold grudges. It restores relationships. And this is where it becomes personal. The same love that led him to the cross is the love he offers you today. It's not a distant, abstract idea. It's an invitation. An invitation to receive a love that knows you completely, forgives you entirely, and calls you to live differently. When we accept that invitation, love first always becomes more than a phrase. It becomes the way we see the world, the way we respond to hurt, the way we choose to live. Love first always is not just a teaching to remember. It's a way of life to embrace. And it starts with you, right now, in the everyday moments where love can either be delayed or given immediately. The truth is, every day gives us a choice. We can lead with suspicion, with self-protection, with judgment, or we can lead with love. One path keeps walls high and hearts closed. The other opens the door for healing, reconciliation, and transformation. Jesus chose the second path every single time, and he invites us to follow him in it. Loving first doesn't mean you'll never be hurt. It doesn't mean you'll always get the response you hope for. But it does mean you'll live with a clear conscience, knowing you've reflected the heart of the one who loved you when you were at your worst. That's the kind of legacy worth leaving. Think about the people in your life right now, the ones who are easy to love and the ones who are not. What if your first instinct toward each of them was love? What if you chose to speak kindness before criticism, to offer help before excuses, to listen before defending yourself? You might be surprised at the ripple effects. We've seen it in the Gospels. One act of love can change a single life, and that life can go on to influence many others. The Samaritan woman brought her whole town to Jesus. Zacchaeus' generosity blessed countless families. The healed leper became a living testimony of God's power. The chain always begins the same way. Someone chooses to love first. And here's the hope you need to hear. You're not asked to do this alone. The same Spirit that empowered Jesus to love without limit lives in those who follow him. That means you can forgive when it feels impossible, serve when it's inconvenient, and extend grace when it's undeserved. So as you leave this message, carry these words with you. Love first, always. Let it be more than a phrase. Let it be the posture of your heart. Because in a world starving for real love, you might be the one through whom someone finally experiences it. If this has stirred something in you, don't let it fade. Take one step today toward loving first. Call someone you've been avoiding. Help someone without expecting repayment. Speak encouragement into someone's life. Let the love of Jesus flow through you. And if you want to keep growing in this journey, stay connected with us here at Holy Path Insights. Subscribe, share this video, and join a community committed to walking in the way of Jesus every day. Together, we can become living proof that his way still works, that love still changes everything.